There is nothing easy about dying, not the act itself, and certainly not the coming back. My name is Darby Lambert. I've lived in Baton Rouge my entire life, and this is also where I died. I peered out of the window and sketched a picture of my dad loading suitcases into his SUV. The massive vehicle reminded me of an overgrown boy, and the caricature I had rendered of the beast took up the majority of the page. I left the unfinished portrait on my messy bed and headed outside to make sure my sister, Lindsay, wasn't taking up valuable luggage space with her needless excess. My family had made the same trip every April for as long as I could remember. It was always the same roads, the same cabin, and the same crystal-clear lake in the Smoky Mountains. It was long past time when I should still be taking family vacations. However, even at 24, it was hard to deny my parents. For this 1 week every year, we were a family. I'd even called a truce with Lindsay in order to keep everyone smiling. "Linz, you're not throwing my suitcases out so you can stuff another pair of shoes in there, huh?" I looked over her back to peer at her packing job, no doubt leaving oily fingerprints on the glossy black surface of my father's freshly polished Suburban. "Your one suitcase with the 2 pair of blue jean shorts and the tank top we'll have to look at all week is not in my way." Lindsay shot her best "I hope you die" look my way, and then flashed a smile when Dad rounded the truck to check our progress. The sky was a color blue which lived right between cobalt and blue-green on the color wheel. What was it called? Azure. I'd only dabbled in painting, but there was no other way to describe the seamless beauty of the heavens that day. I inhaled and choked as the wind shifted, bringing the unmistakable smell of the paper mill across the river. Mom and Dad stood next to each other, lost in conversation. In that moment, they seemed happy, normal. Mom's blonde hair blew across her shoulders and wrapped itself in his salt and pepper beard. I couldn't have sketched a better day to hit the road. It was perfect, until Evan Gaucher pulled into the driveway in his shiny red Beamer. For the life of me, I couldn't remember why I'd agreed to go out with him. It was obvious he was more suited for Lindsay with his tailored clothing and shiny jewelry, but for some reason I couldn't seem to ditch him. He stepped from his car, grinning, as though we'd all won the grand prize in some insane contest when he'd graced us with his presence. No one spoke to him, no one except Lindsay. She twisted a strand of her brown locks between her fingers and gushed, "Hey, Evan." I thought I might vomit, but instead I focused on his pressed khaki chinos and spotless white button-down. How annoying could one person be? He was polished down to the teeth, which, by the way, were white because he bleached them every morning and never drank coffee or smoked cigarettes. "Hey, Darb." He touched my hip and I spun around, stumbling to the front of the truck trying to get out of his reach. "Yeah, hey," I mumbled, looking to my dad for rescue. "Nice watch," Dad said, as he glanced from under the hood at Evan with one eyebrow raised in amusement. "Shiny," I shook my head, feigning excitement. I remembered then, it wasn't the show which irritated me, but the way Evan treated me. By the time I'd found my iPod and cell phone to stash in the back seat, he'd already raked me over the coals. "So, you gonna wear those shorts? Why don't you borrow something from Lynn's?" His face didn't move when he said those things. It was soft, as though it was the most natural thing in the world for him to insult me. I shot him a rude hand gesture and climbed into the car. "Oh, come on, Darby. You're such a mess all the time, but you know I love you." He leaned across the seat, the smell of his cologne choking the breath from me. "I love you." What did he mean by that anyway? Did he think I was fooled by his games? "I'll see you when I get back." Or not. I'd already jammed my earphones in my ears, hoping to muffle any further charm from Mr. Squeaky Clean. I made a mental note to tell him what I thought of him as soon as I got back. He was waving his cell phone. "Call me." His lips curled around the words. I pointed to my ears and turned away from him to stare out the window. "I can't hear you," I sang out softly. I was lost in a daydream where I kicked him between the legs when my dad reached through the window and grabbed my arm. I screamed and then yanked the earphones out and scowled at him. "Jumpy?" he grinned. "A bit. I thought you were someone else." I glared over the headrest at Evan, who was engrossed in conversation with my sister. Again. "Do me a favor. Put this in the glove box and grab the case for me. It's in the kitchen, on the bar, I think." Those were the last words I heard, the voice of my dad, as he handed me his most prized possession.